So I've been hesitant to talk about topics surrounding what is going around for a long time. I'm not entirely sure I would care to share my identity yet, simply because I don't know what's happening. And I've done some things in the past that could get me in trouble if the right people ever put two and two together. And I'll just leave it at that. But something I'm noticing right now, it's made it very difficult for everyone to get a real sense of what's going on, is how people just struggle to question the main narrative. And I keep on asking myself, why? How is this even possible? Like, it's so obvious that this is all bullshit. And people continue to believe it, and they'll fight you. My own wife, I actually tried to persuade her. A week ago, she was telling me the numbers out of China were true, that the numbers aren't that big, and that America is, faking the numbers. She's very anti-Trump. And then suddenly, now that the numbers are huge in America, and I've done more and more research, I've realized that all the numbers are fake. In fact, there's a strong possibility that China probably has the closest estimates, because they don't need to. They lie in other ways, but they don't need to lie in this specific way to be able to control their population. They have a sheep population already. In fact, I think they're the test group. Usually, whenever we want to implement something in the West, we'll let China test run it first before we implement it. And I've noticed we've done this for many years, actually, with a lot of different things. Technology, certain laws. I can get into that as I make more videos. But right now, I want to really focus on trying to figure out why people are so resistant to believing, such an obvious truth, And I was having a conversation with a friend. He's a banker, and he's pretty high up in the banking industry. And I said, I want to try and get him to question things, but obviously I can't tell him about the bigger aspects, the pedophile rings, these, corruption. So I tried to pose a very simple argument to him, and he refused to question it. He refused to acknowledge the contradictions between the fact that you can't accept that China's numbers are fake, but then America's numbers are real. Like there's such a contradiction with that. Why is that a contradiction? Because we're seeing so much details and evidence coming out that, forces us to question the main narrative. Anyways, so I was talking with my wife last night, and at one point I just up and said it. I said, this coronavirus is fake. The numbers are fake. And she's been really freaked out about this thing from the beginning. I freaked her out a bit at first, and then she got more freaked out on her own because I thought it was real. And So I said it to her, and she's been nonchalant about the thing for a while now, but I said it to her. I just said, these numbers are fake. There's no way they're real. And she lost her shit. She got so angry at me for even proposing that. I've never mentioned it to her in the past. And I started thinking about how many other people I've tried to explain this to, and not all of them are the same, but you can see them getting visibly angry or irritated. And I've traveled a bit. I don't live in the U.S. I'll just leave it at that. Maybe someday I'll tell you where I actually live, but I've traveled quite a bit, and people they actually do tend to be fairly similar in reaction. And I've talked to people in the area where I do live. I've talked to people in other areas where I've been, and I've talked to people in America. And if they're normies, they have the exact same reaction. If you tell them the numbers are fake, you could even show them evidence, they'll get either angry or irritated. And it doesn't matter how much you explain to them, they can't accept it. And man, it just got me thinking about why? And here's my answer. And I'm willing to develop it as I reflect more on it. But I think the answer is very simple. We, as a collective global society, we know what's coming. We know what we've lost, what has been destroyed, what we will lose. And there's people who don't have the energy to accept that everyone's been lying to them. And I think internally they realize that if they ever do accept that, they won't know what to do with themselves. So it will make them feel helpless and hopeless, because how can you stand up to a global cabal that has just taken everything from you in an attempt to control you better or more effectively? To accept this reality, that this is all a hoax being used to shift in a new world order, it's to accept that your life truly is meaningless. It's to accept that, at least in the current future, that we can expect much more hardship, and we can expect to be subjugated by people with much more power than us. And people might not know who these people in power are, but if you destroy their narrative, a narrative that they've shoved in their head, then you try and tell them that it's all been a fake. You've been lied to. Everything you trust is fake. They won't believe you. They just won't. It doesn't matter how much data and evidence you give to them. They won't believe you, because it's easier to nestle yourself in your own little secure space, even if that space is a dangerous space. It's much easier than having to realize the truth.